we're going to go ahead and jump into our WandaVision thoughts for the week on episode 4 of WandaVision. It was a crazy episode. We're going to try to keep it a little bit more condensed than what we have been, but we'll try our best, but we'll see where it ends up. But man, this was a great episode. So as we always do we did it with our Mandalorian coverage, and now we're doing it with WandaVision. We'll give our non-spoiler general thoughts on the episode in the first few minutes, and then we'll jump into spoilers. So generally, I'll go ahead and start. I thought this episode was great. I think it's my favorite episode of the series thus far, just because it progresses the story the furthest. But I still really like the first 3, especially the third one. It's kind of hard for me to tell right now, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is not a spoiler, but in the title, it literally makes a reference to the outside world, like taking a break from what's going on. So they explore a lot of what is going on in the outside world. Again, in our non-spoiler section, I'm not going to go into detail, but I thought they did a great job of transitioning that and doing that in a way that still fit everything that came before in the first episodes. And this episode really just ties a lot of things together. It ties a lot of MCU-related things together as well. And I just thought it did it in such a way that was seamless and worked extremely well. There's some characters in this episode that get a lot more context to their character and everything going on. Again, I'm not going to say that their name until we get in the spoiler section, but I loved what they did with that specific character, and I just love the direction the show is going now. I feel like we have a lot clearer vision, full pun intended. So I feel like we have a lot clearer vision, though, of where we're going, and I just am excited to see where it ends up. So that's kind of my general thoughts. I thought it was really, really good. I'm not going to put a score on it just because I kind of want to see the whole series before I put like scores on episodes, but I thought it was a great episode. This definitely is like where the payoff is starting to come in for if there was anyone who didn't like the first 3 or first 2. This one, like, it gives context to everything, and so you can appreciate it more. At least I did. But Mo, what are your kind of general thoughts on the episode?
So first 3 episodes, I think, agreeing with what Joe said, for everyone who kind of just been who've kind of just been nonchalantly watching the show, probably have been like, like it's good, like enjoyable, but not really doing the research.
Right.
I just have been embedded into it, but just doing like a lot of the little things, just behind the scenes, just wanting to do research on it, wanting to like look up why is this happening, like, oh, the connection to the comics and stuff like that. Like, to me, that's why I'm getting a bigger payoff in the 4th episode, as some people are kind of using this as a relief episode. I'm using it as like a see, this is now this is why it's connected here and there.
Right.
So like, I think the episode 4 is like a great episode where both the nerds and the nonchalant fans, just the everyday fans, just can unite and say that this was just a great episode.
Definitely.
I think it was just a really entertaining. It was cool to see what was happening outside and everything. And I guess I'll do a little rating. Shout out to Tyrone Magnus. I give it 5. Woo!
Yes. Shout out to Tyrone Magnus, great YouTuber. 5 woos. Wow. So 10 out of 10, basically. Yeah.
Just for right now, it was enjoyable. The only nick to it is time. Again, 25. It was like 25 minutes.
Yeah. No.
And you thought, and everyone, and Joe and I were both super frustrated with Mandalorian because the episodes were 40 minutes. Yeah. And now we're over here getting 25-minute episodes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. And especially with this episode, with how much gets revealed, like, I feel like there could be more of it strung out a little bit more. But So that's kind of our overall general thoughts on the episode. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen episode 4 of WandaVision, click off now, either on the video or on the audio, or skip to the next section if you're on the audio, and come back once you've seen the episode, because you got to see this one. If you're a Marvel fan, you got to see this episode, and obviously to understand the episode more, you have to see the whole series. So without further ado, let's jump into some spoilers. So opening sequence was fantastic. Monica Rambeau, you get this huge reveal of kind of how the blimp is what they're calling it in the Marvel Universe, how Thanos' snap affected the world. And then what happens is basically everyone coming back from the snap, but then Monica Rambeau is like, there's 3 years that have gone by basically where she just had no idea what was going on. And we find out that she lost her mother in that time. And before the blimp, she was in the hospital and she never got to say her final goodbye to her mother. So that was heartbreaking. And I thought it was an incredible sequence because it just like gave context. It gave context to her character and to like connecting right out the gate. It's just connecting to the MCU, and I loved that opening sequence. I thought it was just such a strong way to open the episode, and then you get further into her character, and Mo, you can kind of pick it up from there.
Yeah, so first off, I did want to say the beginning was very similar to the beginning of Endgame, but just kind of flip-flopped. Mm-hmm. You lose family, you lose people, and this time you gain them back. But I liked what they did here. They showed the realistic, like, panicky side of, shoot, everyone's returning now. Like, now it's not just a funny, comical thing like they did in Spider-Man Far From Home, and it's not just, like, they're finally back. Well, wherever they disappeared is where they're going to end back up. So you better go find them.
Right.
And like, it's hectic. And you could tell in the hospital, if we're even talking and relating to COVID season here, how they're just talking about how like, it's just way too out of control and they don't have enough,
right.
They don't have enough space. They don't have enough this and that. It was crazy to watch. It was hectic.
Yeah.
So I liked that. So going into, kind of after that, those first opening credits, Monica Rambeau is walking into what her mom had built with S.W.O.R.D.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty cool to see her mom built S.W.O.R.D. and Agent Carter built S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's kind of cool that both those females have actually started those corporations.
Yeah.
So
and I didn't realize her mom was such a big part of S.W.O.R.D., by the way. That was new to me. So
yeah. To be honest, I didn't know too much about it either, to be honest. But so that was cool. That was cool at first. So then they're walking in, and they just had talks about what's been happening since the blip, and he says that she's grounded kind of right now, just because. Which the cool thing is that her mom just kind of knew that she'd be back, but that she just wants to kind of her to get back in the rhythm and just work on terrestrial stuff. It's kind of weird hearing that, but like she's just working on groundwork. And not stuff in space. So she takes the job, which is going to Westview and checking out the town where Wanda and Vision are doing their special stuff over there. And this is when it's first happening, like when everything is first introduced. This is not right after episode 3. This is going back to the beginning, right before the beginning of the first episode.
Yeah.
So you get there into Westview and you're reintroduced, I guess, to my man and Joe's man, Jimmy Woo.
We love Jimmy Woo. He is honestly one of the he's just because of this appearance, he is climbing. I already liked him in the Ant-Man films, but he is climbing up my list of characters like side characters that I love in the MCU.
He's hilarious.
He is so funny.
And he does a great job at Fresh Off the Boat with that TV series. He's just super funny, and his dry sense of humor carries him a long way. But I just wanted to say I cracked up on this part, and if you didn't watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, you might not laugh as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
But Jimmy Woo, when he was wanting to introduce himself to Monica Rambeau,
yeah,
he pulls his card and does a card trick, and he's like smiling while doing it because you could tell he feels so good about himself that he's finally nailed down the card trick that he was trying to learn from Ant-Man, from Paul Rudd in the Ant-Man and the Wasp. Because in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Paul Rudd's character Ant-Man was saying how he was like he's been stuck in his house from house arrest the whole time, that he's been learning magic for his kids and stuff like that. And Jimmy Woo literally was like, okay, how'd you do that? So like he definitely was trying to work on it. So it was funny to see the payoff.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and then they end up finding the force field or whatever, and
around Westview.
She ends up being pulled into it after she was like kind of like a baby trying to test the waters a little bit, like a little kid trying to test the waters a little bit. She ends up getting wrapped in, and that's where you kind of speculate, well, okay, that's how she got into the whole universe thing.
Yeah, and that's the first thing you realize of exactly how Monica got in, because we didn't know if it was something where she was sent in or whatever, but she was just messing around, and then the force field basically sucked her in, and it was just very interesting. And before that, is that when we had the drone sequence, or was that after? That was after, correct? The drone.
The what sequence?
The drone.
Oh, the drone sequence. She sends in the first drone before.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And we get a callback to episode 2, I believe, when Wanda first saw. Was that episode 1 or 2 when she first saw the red helicopter in the bush?
That was 2.
Okay.
No. That was 2.
Okay. So we get a callback to and a reasoning to understanding why that was. So what I loved about this whole episode, but really just this like middle section of what we're getting into now, is, and we don't need to get into every single detail, but like it really, as you can see, connects the whole series together and ties everything together so perfectly, and gives so much more context for everything that happens in the first 2,
it's
3
like Tenet.
episodes. Yeah, it's like Tenet. Exactly. So more wild stuff kind of unveils itself. We see the beekeeper end up going in, and how they actually found there's a sewer line under the ground that they thought could make it into the town. And you see when he gets out of the sewer, which I didn't catch this the first time. I caught this in a heavy spoilers. I don't know if you watch him on YouTube.
Yeah, I watch.
Shout out to Heavy Spoilers.
Everything. Yeah.
But he did like a great breakdown of everything, and he basically in his breakdown pointed out that the guy in the beekeeper suit, he originally was in just like some other type of suit basically, and when he went into their dimension, or once he entered the force field or whatever into Westview, it turned into a beekeeper suit. So that was really interesting to me, and just the way it tied all that stuff together. And then we also get the end of episode 3 from Wanda's point of view toward the end of this episode. So when we get it from Wanda's point of view, we see how she throws out Monica Rambeau once she realizes, oh, you might be from the outside world. And
You're not the friend.
Yeah, and then you really get to see like her before Vision comes back inside and says, "Where'd Monica?" Or no, he doesn't call her Monica. Where did Geraldine go? And so
that'd be a big plot twist.
Yeah,
where's Monica?
Right. And then she's like, "Oh, she just had to leave, whatever." But before that, you can see the pain like that Wanda's really going through. And that was one of the moments, and there's been a few moments in the first 3, but not too many, where you really see this character is like in a deep mental breakdown and struggle right now. And honestly, it hints toward why she created this reality and all this stuff is going on. Is she's really just like you mentioned last week, which I've heard numerous people say, but Feige said when this show was first announced that like it is a tragedy, and so I think by the end we're gonna understand the tragedy. But one other thing that happens in that kind of sequence, I believe, if I remember right, is she turns around and Vision,
Vision.
For like a 1 second was like, yeah, dead Vision. And it was still him talking, but it was like, it was really creepy looking, honestly.
That was not 2020 right there.
No. And then she turned back, and she turned away, and then when she turned back, it was back to normal. But it was just like, it was really slight, and it was really creepy looking, like straight out of a horror movie. He had like no eyes, and like he was all yellow. Like, yeah, it was kind of creeped me out. But, and then remind me what happens after that exactly that I didn't talk about that the episode ends on.
After that, he kept walking up to her and was like, he can leave, right?
Yes,
like,
that's what it
get
was.
out of here. And she.
Oh, she turns menacing, bro.
The pain and the fear, or not even the fear, just the aggression that she had in her eyes. Like, if I ever saw a woman like that come up to me, I would run.
Yeah.
She was ready to kill.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, no, this is our home. We need to stay here. And then she said this line right here. She said it before, and she said it again, and it kind of gives you chills. She said, "I've got it all under control."
Yes.
And it's just like,
oh my gosh, it was so menacing.
It's so menacing. I can't with it. She's very powerful, and she is just a tough, she's tough, and I think she is a partial villain in this, but not, I think she's being controlled too, and there's another aspect of it. Like, she is, and has been reported as, like in some comics, as like a threat to other heroes because she is so powerful. But that's scary. Like, and that's the thing I like about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So to round out our WandaVision thoughts from this week, and our review of this week's episode, give me just like a few predictions for next week's episode. Not for the series as a whole, but just for next week's episode. Where do you think they're going?
I think next we're gonna get the 80s episode now. And what I think we might go 80s, and then next episode 90s, do like the same thing we've been doing the first 3 episodes. But I also might see time periods change a little bit faster, not just by episode, but by just event, honestly. So it might just happen whenever something wrong happens. Oh, switch the decade. Like, things I think are going to start moving a little bit faster because things are getting trippier and trippier. Yeah. And there was an episode 5 promo that I watched that just kind of throwed out some clips of, I think, what's going to be out in episode 5, maybe some from 6, and then some.
So it was an episode 5 promo, or it was just a promo for the show?
It was an episode 5 promo.
Oh, I didn't know they already put out an episode 5 promo.
Yeah, it was right after. I'm being legit.
Okay, I didn't know that.
They're not all clips from the 5th episode, but they seemed like it said episode 5 promo.
Got you.
And they showed a lot of little extra snippets that you haven't seen from any other
any of the episodes
so
far.
So like, I'm thinking Vision. Vision's kind of weird. I can't put my finger on it really, because I really don't know if he's conscious or if he's just completely controlled by Wanda, because he's having some type of consciousness when he's questioning all this stuff.
Right.
So I think he'll try to get out, and I think Wanda, whoever is also controlling her, partially controlling her, I think they're going to come into the light a little bit more, but there's still plenty of episodes left. So I don't think they're going to jump to anything too quickly. But I do think that's going to happen. You're going to continually go through 80s, 90s, and episode forward too. So I'm just excited for that.
Okay. My predictions for next week's episode, I think that they're going to, unlike you, I could see them like moving faster, as in like anytime something goes wrong, she changes the decade. But I think they'll keep with the sitcom thing and do at least up until like the last episode, or maybe the last 2, because I think there's 9. So up until like the last two, I think they'll keep it with the sitcom. So like this coming one will be the 80s. I think we'll get more. We'll get more about the kids and more details, and maybe even see like nods to the future of them becoming superheroes. And yeah, I just think the series is going to continue to get more wild. I don't know if we'll see a ton of Monica next week. I think it'll be back to everything that's going on in Wanda's reality in Westview. But I'm looking forward to it, and I just think it's going to get continually crazier, like I said. But what was the last thing you wanted to say?
Last thing I wanted to say is the reason the whole time tampering on the time thing, I think that she's not going to – I think generally I don't think she's going to have full control of the time. I think time's going to catch up with her. Wink, wink. Yeah. I think – honestly, from some of the trailers and videos and stuff like that, I think she's going to have some control, but like it's going to be very glitchy. Like, and things are not more and more episodes as we go through, she's going to have less and less control of what's happening.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say. So
definitely.
I'm excited for that.
All right.